Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a little bit about wetlands, what they are, where they are, who lives there, and the different types of climates that occur in the wetlands. So are places where land meets water, and they occur in many different places uh, along the shore and inside continents, and there are three different types of wetlands. The first one, freshwater, is where there is rivers or rainfall or groundwaters which pour into a low-lying area of land, and they form a swamp or a bog, and it hosts a large variety of different creatures. The next type are the brackish wetlands, and that is when river water and salt water from the coast uh, mix together and also become a wetland, and that hosts a completely different type, yeah, of animals and plants, and those are usually the ones that are found along the shore. Also, there is the saline uh, wetlands, and those are probably the most harsh ones to live in because they are majority of them is salt water, which is quite harsh. And yeah, and also wetlands, uh, they're found on every single continent, and they cover about 3% of the Earth's surface. So here we see an example of a freshwater wetland, and as you can see, there is water and plants and trees, and they all coexist with each other. And by the looks of things, this is a wetland located in a temperate climate because there's clouds, there's wind, like the water's rippling, and by the looks of things, it isn't too warm, but it's not extreme. So yeah. And yeah, as I said previously, wetlands are found uh, on every single continent except the poles, the Arctic and the Antarctic, because the conditions there are too too cold for wetlands to be found. And as you can see here, as I've said before, there is wetlands everywhere. The ones that are on the shores, marked with green, are the wetlands, mainly the brackish wetlands, because that's where the seawater and freshwater mix together. The ones marked with blue are the freshwater wetlands because there is no interference from the sea. And then there's the gray areas, which is permafrost. And the interesting thing about permafrost is that it is also considered a wetland, even though the water is mostly frozen. But since ice is water, it can also be classified in that category. So, how are wetlands formed? Wetlands are formed when there is an excess amount of water in any given area, usually lowland area or steeping area, and when the soil cannot absorb any more water, the water just stays there on the surface, and eventually that becomes a wetland. Yeah. So here, there's a little diagram that shows how wetlands work, and it gives a little idea of how they are formed. On the left, you can see that there is groundwater flow, which feeds the wetland, and then there's a stream that also runs into the wetland, and there is various different types of animals and bacteria which sort of clean the water, and then that water, when there becomes too much of it, it runs down to a stream or a lake or the sea or whatever. So yeah. And since wetlands can be found on every single continent with two exceptions, and there's many different types of them, it hosts a wide variety of plants and animals, also because wetlands are a combination of land and sea. And as you can see, some of the animals that live in wetlands are fish, shellfish, mud skippers, which are like little fishies that can survive in the mud, water snakes, alligators, crocodiles, different types of birds, turtles, uh, various amphibians and reptiles, all that good stuff. And yeah, here you can see it with pictures, because pictures are good. And so there's the birds, the turtles, the plants, the alligators, and raccoons, which feed on like frogs and little fishies and various other insects. Okay, so since wetlands are located on different continents and in different places, they have varying climate, temperature, and rainfall, and they can vary from negative 50 degrees Celsius in somewhere in Siberia or like the permafrost areas with very harsh climate, very cold, very nasty, and they can go all the way up to 50 degrees Celsius, which is like in the Amazon and the Arabian Peninsula, where it's hot, wet, and yeah. And here are two distinct examples. On the left is a permafrost wetland, and if you look closely, you can see that all the bodies of water are slightly white, which demonstrates how they're frozen. And on the right, you can see that this is a mangrove forest, which is also an example of a wetland. And you know, the sun is shining, it looks warm, the water looks like it's full of things that will kill you, and the trees are just growing out of it, which means the temperature is high enough for them to survive. Okay, so and just as a wrap up, there are a couple of examples of wetlands. Any type of delta is a wetland, and those include the Nile, the Amazon, the Mekong, and different types of mangrove forests from Florida and Southeast Asia. So yeah, on the top left is the Amazon basin. On the right is the Nile Delta, and you can see how much greener it is than everything else around it. And on the bottom is the Mekong Delta in Vietnam, and you can see how like trees and plants grow right out of the water. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little video about wetlands. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.